Hello, Discover here to explain our cash back match. Here's how it works. We give you cash back for using your Discover card on the things you were going to buy anyway. Then we match that cash back in your first year. And that's why we call it Cashback Match. Now to recap and say cashback one more time. We match all the cash back you've earned at the end of your first year automatically. Discover. Exceptionally common sense. Learn more at discover.com/match. Limitations apply.
More than 1 in 3 people will face cancer in their lifetime. Unfortunately, fear can stop you from getting your cancer screening, but it won't stop cancer. Early detection can save your life. Don't wait for symptoms to appear to act. Cancer screening is safe, effective, and accessible for everyone, including free or low-cost screening programs. Go to cancerscreeninfo.com right now for free screening resources and recommendations from the American Cancer Society. Don't wait. Early detection can save your life. Go to cancerscreeninfo.com today. Cancerscreeninfo.com.
Welcome to the Boneyard with Steve Robertson. As always, I am your good friend and host, Steve Robertson, here on the magnificent Monday edition of The Yard. Hope you're well today. It's a pretty good weekend. I mean, it was a great rivalry weekend. We're going to talk about that a little bit later in the show. That's one good thing I'll say about playing the Golden Egg on Thursday is we, as fans of college football, get a chance to watch other games and just kind of be fans of college football. And what a great day of football we had on Saturday. Pretty good day Friday, great day on Saturday. Like I read on Twitter, some people were like, man, college football saved its best for last. I don't know if that's true. But, man, it was outstanding. It was. And that's one thing I'll say, too, about the playoffs is that every game matters. And that was kind of the focus, right? I mean, we all sit around on Twitter during the ball game saying, well, how does this impact Michigan? How does this impact the playoffs? What does this mean for Cincinnati? And so I think what's happened is that people are more engaged with the college football, whether it be your game, somebody else's game, somebody within your conference games, or something nationally. I watched a ton of games on Saturday, and I'm not going to lie about it, guys. I spent most of my time in my room, laid up with 3 pillows behind my head and the remote in my hand, flipping back and forth, ate a bunch of fast food, and just kind of enjoyed being a dude for a while. It was cool. Now, one of the things, too, I'll share with you guys, too. Maybe you're not familiar with this, but, you know, we have to renew that contract with ESPN every now and again. And so this was the last year of the current contract for the Golden Egg to be on Thursday. I suspect it's going to stay on Thursday. Don't know that for sure, but let's just say I've talked to some people that there is interest from ESPN to keep the game on Thursday because people love it. People love us, and they kind of like Ole Miss, but they love us. And so ESPN is expected to offer an extension of the Thanksgiving night battle for the Golden Egg contract. Don't know when they'll be finalized, but I believe that both sides are in agreement that we will keep the game on Thanksgiving. So we'll have more Saturdays like we had this past Saturday. I know many of you, it's kind of a polarizing topic. I don't want it on Thursday. I want to be with family. You know, come tailgate in Junction. How about that? Or come eat at one of our great local restaurants. That'd be a nice little change of pace. Come do that. But I would suspect right now, if I were a Bulldog or a Rebel, I would say at least 2 years, maybe 4 years, that we will keep this on Thanksgiving. I know some people really like it on Thanksgiving, others don't, but I believe it is here for the foreseeable future. So again, the contract is expired, and now there'll be some new negotiations about that, and I think in the end, that's what you're going to see happen. I don't think there's any question about it. It's just a matter of kind of getting things resolved, making sure it makes good sense financially for everybody. But we had a good crowd. We really did. Was it 55,000, something like that? It was the best crowd of the year. Considering all the people that complain about it, we had a great crowd. And I didn't mention this on Friday's show, so let me do it today. To all of you Mississippi State students that stayed in town and attended the Battle for the Golden Egg and then went home to enjoy your families on the weekends, you guys are awesome. Had a chance to meet with some of those students at some book signings over the weekend. I said, hey, I went to the game. I stayed here. I went home for a couple days. Now I'm back. And so for those of you that did, I know sometimes our students don't get the credit they deserve. And I'm here to tell you, I am a proponent of Mississippi State students. I think they set the tone for the atmosphere at both basketball and football. Of course, we don't really need a tone setter for baseball. You guys turn out and do a great job in all that respect. But I think our students are outstanding. And I love the little swag surf thing we do before the game. People get all excited. It's the student section at Mississippi State. And I know that I'm going to offend some older people here. When I say older people like my age, I don't think the student section of football has ever been better than it is right now. I love the fact that they're in the end zone. They can all be together and have a good time. I've got a couple of girls that are students at Mississippi State, and they love sitting there. They'd rather sit with the students than they would their own family. And I think it's a great experience, and I think that you guys make a difference on game day for Mississippi State. And so my hat is off to you. I thank each and every one of you. If I could come and shake your hands, hug your necks, I would. Because I appreciate your efforts. I know it would have been very, very easy to say, you know what, hey, I'm just going to go home for Thanksgiving. I haven't seen anybody in a while. But you know what, Mississippi State needed you there. The game didn't work out the way we wanted. But in reality, you guys were there to do your part. And so I appreciate you. I know there are others who do that maybe don't have the vehicle or the platform to tell you. So on their behalf, let me tell you, students, thank you. I would be remiss if we did not talk about some history at Mississippi State. Coach Julie Darty Dennis named SEC Coach of the Year for volleyball. Who saw that coming? What an incredible year the ladies have had. And we had the school record, 2,200 and something fans at the ball game the other day. It's phenomenal. And I've had people come up to me, like Dave Murray and I shot a video yesterday, and they're like, hey, I didn't hear you mention volleyball. Well, you're right, we didn't, and I'm sorry. These ladies, this coaching staff deserves our respect, and it's phenomenal when you think about how this whole thing shook out. Well, guys, we're 25-5. 25-5. 16-2 in the SEC, which is second in the league, our best finish of all time. We end the year on a 13-game winning streak, 14-1 at home. And again, I think our fans, namely our students, have done a good job turning out. Pretty phenomenal when you think about it. And now we're going to be headed to Seattle, Washington to take on Hawaii on Friday, December the 3rd. That's pretty amazing. There was some talk we might even host. We're not going to, but we're in the tournament. And there are a lot of people like, hey, listen, I didn't expect all this to happen. And that's okay. That's the great thing about college athletics. There's always something to cheer for. Always. Ladies were ranked 24th in the most recent coaches poll. Might move up a little bit. We'll see. A lot of people tell me the SEC is not really viewed as a strong volleyball conference, and that's one thing that kind of hurts us in that respect. But there's no denying at all the season that these ladies have had. Brought a lot of pride to a lot of Mississippi State folks that, maybe in the past didn't really pay attention to volleyball. But here they are. Very, very proud of the ladies. And met one of the volleyball parents over the weekend, not even from Mississippi. Said it'd been a great experience. They love the coaching staff, love the campus, love all of you. And I think everybody realizes something special is happening here with volleyball. And one of the things that I was told when Coach Darty was hired, now Darty Dennis, that it was her program. And she has built it, something we never foresaw. It's been incredible. And so she rightly is named the SEC Coach of the Year. We'll see how things progress from there. We're going to talk some coaching stuff a little bit later in the show, but it has been a wild weekend already. The silly season is here. So we'll see how things progress. But at this point, it looks like Mississippi State's going to be okay. We'll watch Zach Arnett as these head coaches get hired. There are going to be some opportunities, I'm sure, that pop up, and then we'll kind of see how things progress. I don't get the sense that Zach Arnett maybe has any ambition at this point in his career to be a head coach. We'll see how things go. But, last year, obviously, he was a name of interest. I suspect he will be again. But right now, there are not any fires burning. We'll see what happens here in the next few weeks as these coaches get settled and begin to fill out their staffs. And And obviously, there are a lot of people in the media that will kind of revisit that topic because they say, hey, maybe he doesn't like it down there. He does like it here. But at the same time, too, he's a younger guy, so he'll have some opportunities. Guy's done a good job. I would say we were better last year defensively, even with our deficiencies at safety. We still had some issues this year, but by and large, I think Zach Arnett's done a great job. Is in year 2 of a 2-year deal, if memory serves me correct. We did roll him over last year right after the Egg Bowl, or the battle for the Golden Egg. And so I guess he is 1 year into the 2-year deal. We'll see how things progress there. But there will be some opportunities. I know that Mississippi State does want to retain him. But we will do our best over at genespage.com to keep you guys apprised of the latest developments. And again, I am confident Zach Arnett's name will be mentioned in connection with some defensive coordinator openings, because the first thing that people do is they look, okay, well, who was looking to get on the move last year? So whether there will be some substance to these rumors, that remains to be seen. But you can go ahead and expect there to be some rumors, true or untrue, that surface here in the weeks to come. I want to thank our good friends at Bulldog Burger Company. Love them. You should too. Matter of fact, I might have dinner there tonight. You get a hankering sometimes, for a great restaurant quality hamburger, and that's the thing. You can get burgers at fast food joints wherever you want, but go somewhere they do it right. It's what they specialize in at Bulldog Burger Company. If you just want a great restaurant quality burger, then what you do is you go to Bulldog Burger Company, and maybe you get the Bulldog. But after you've had that and you understand the fine cuisine available to you, perhaps you expand your horizons a bit. Maybe you get the pimentology at bacon. I've told you guys before, that's my favorite one. Absolutely love it. Love the mission too, but I do get the pico de gallo on the side. Not a big onions guy. I enjoyed the mission. You will too. Always something new, something fresh. Have the BLT salad. You can get that fried or grilled. The main thing that I'll tell you about Bulldog Burger Company is the portions. Fantastic. You always get your money's worth. You get a great meal at a great price with great service with great locations. But you're not going to finish it. I'm just going to tell you right out of the gate, you're not going to finish it. You're going to leave something behind. Just how it works. You get more than you pay for at Bulldog Burger Company. 3 great locations to serve you right here on University Drive in Start Vegas. Gloucester Street there in Tupelo, and of course the brand new one, Lake Harbor Drive there in the Ridge and Flowwood area. Go check them out today. You'll be glad you did. Maybe get that chocolate shake to go. When you're asking, you're winding down, you're getting ready to ask for the check, say, hey, let me get a chocolate shake to go. That'd be a nice little palate cleanser for you. You'll be glad you did. Not many places you can get your dessert to go. How many times you go somewhere and you get food and you leave it behind? This is a different deal. You'll be glad you did this. Bulldog Burger Company, the place where people go to meet. MEAT. All right, let's take a look at the weekend that was. You guys are well aware of what happened on Thursday and Friday with Ole Miss and Arkansas winning. Georgia, 45-0 winners over Georgia Tech. Crazy, right? Georgia's in the playoff. Win or lose this weekend against Alabama in the SEC championship game. Georgia is in. Now, Georgia Tech ends the year 3-9. It hadn't been a good stretch for former SEC Mississippi State coaches. Of course, Dan Mullen was terminated prior to the end of the year. Greg Knox, however, now 2-0 as an interim coach. Maybe somebody should hire Greg as the head coach. Maybe somebody on the G5 level will give Coach Knox a shot. Georgia Tech, though, 3-9, and it has been a rough stretch for Jeff Collins. They do make a change yesterday, firing their offensive coordinator and their co-defensive coordinator and their cornerbacks coach. So 3 coaches terminated yesterday at Georgia Tech, which tells me that Jeff Collins is going to hang around another year. And if you're Georgia Tech, now is not the year to make a coaching change. There's just too many better jobs out there, and you're going to be stuck with somebody perhaps not even as good as Jeff Collins. But Jeff not done exceptionally well. And I'll be honest with you, it does surprise me. It really does. I thought that Georgia Tech would be a better team, not just, maybe not contending, but with Jeff's recruiting acumen, and they've done a good job recruiting, I just thought they would develop players and have an opportunity to put some things together. They just haven't done it. They just simply haven't done it, whether it be Atlanta or Birmingham recruiting. 3 wins last year, 3 wins this year. How much longer do you give Jeff? I think he gets one more year. It's 3 consecutive 3-win seasons. So you've got to begin to consider, okay, maybe this is not going to work out. And it really does surprise me. Jeff Collins is one of the most intelligent people that I know, and the fact that they haven't played better is interesting. They finish up the year, guys. It's absolutely insanity here. On a 6-game losing streak, they lose the last 2 by a combined 100-0. Notre Dame, of course, 55-0, and then Georgia 45-0. And Georgia Tech, not a team that's ready to challenge top 10 opponents, but you don't score a single point. Probably need to shake up the offensive staff. The 3 wins this year at Duke that didn't win a single game in the ACC, and Coach David Cutcliffe mutually terminates with Duke. They beat North Carolina. That was probably the high point of the season. They beat Kennesaw State. At the beginning of the year, though, they lose to Northern Illinois. But Georgia Tech, not in a really good spot. But, yeah, so you lose 45-0 to your rival, and we've been there, right? People generally get fired. But, again, the climate right now is just not very good if you're Georgia Tech. I mean, you're going to end up having to really reach for a coach. You're probably better giving Jeff one more year. But I think it's pretty safe to say Jeff Collins on the hot seat in Hot Atlanta next year. We mentioned Greg Knox earlier. Greg wins 24-21 over Florida State. That ended up being kind of a remarkable ball game. It was very, very close for a while. 7-7 at the break, and then Florida takes over there in the third quarter and then goes ahead 17-7. You think, okay, they're going to coast to a victory. Well, it ends up being a little bit dicey there in the fourth quarter. Florida State scores a late touchdown to pull within 3, and then the kicker whiffs on the onside attempt and gives Florida the football. They can run it out. But so Florida State not bowling for the second consecutive year. And you may recall that there are some former Mississippi State players that elected to transfer down there that will not be participating in the postseason for the second straight year. They were all part of the team that went to the Music City Bowl, and now they're going to watch bowl games at home. So the grass not always greener on the other side. And obviously there's more to the college experience in football, but if you are a football player, you'd like to be on a winning team that is enjoying the postseason. That has not been the case at Florida State. I think Mike Norvell, much like Jeff Collins, will enter 2022 on the hot seat. And that's the thing, too, with Florida State. They had such a dreadful start. Kind of started putting some things together late. So that I'm sure that's one of the things they look at and say, okay, well, maybe we're finally going in the right direction. They start out at 0-4. Then they win the next 3, lose the next 2, makes them 3-7. Right? 3-7 with 3 to play. They beat Miami, go to BC and win, and then lose to Florida. All of those 3-point ball games. So you probably feel a little bit better about the direction of your program. Clemson, of course, pretty good team. You lose to them by 10 and then lose to NC State by 14. But 5-7. 5-7 at Florida State. And you begin to ask yourself, is Florida State, is it all like behind them now? It's like, are the glory days over at Florida State? I think that's probably a fair assessment of where things are right now. You go out and you get, the 2 hot names. You go get Willie Taggart, and Willie's a guy that was an exceptional recruiter, did a great job at Western Kentucky. And then he's gone basically in a year and a half. But, kind of looking at what's happened, since Jimbo decided to leave in 17, that was a 6-6 year for them. They won the Independence Bowl to finish on the winning side of things. And the next 2 years, 5-7, 6-7, including a bowl loss, 3-6, 5-7. So 1 bowl appearance in the past 4 seasons for them, and 4 straight losing seasons for them. And that was the thing, too. Like, Jimbo had a pretty good stretch there, and everybody's like, oh, Jimbo Fisher is great. And everybody said, well, that's the Florida State brand. And then you had that really bad year in 17, and he leaves to go to A&M, and it just hadn't been the same ever since. But you begin to ask yourself, hey, if you get the right guy there, can you turn this thing around? And when you look at what's happened, Miami is in flux. Florida just made a coaching change. Florida State could run the risk of really falling behind here. Mike Norvell just 2 seasons in. I think he gets 1 more for sure. But you begin to ask yourself, what has happened to the state of Florida? What in the world is going on with Florida football? At least once, one of those teams is always kind of in contention, for something major for a New Year's Six. And, of course, Florida goes 3 straight years to the New Year's Six and fires Dan Mullen. But Florida State has missed a golden opportunity to get some separation. And I'm sure that's part of the thinking with Scott Strickland, at Florida. Is like, hey, we've had a chance here to kind of put these guys away. We hadn't been able to do so. And there are some that have suggested there's got to be more to the story with Dan Mullen in Florida. I don't think there is. I really don't. I think the climate that we're in now in college football, that if you are a kind of person that, maybe is a little bit abrasive, people will put up with that when you're winning. I mean, you think Nick Saban's all bubbly and soft and everything else. He's not. He's not that kind of person, but he wins, so you put up with it. Well, Dan Mullen was kind of abrasive to people here. We put up with it because he was winning, and he held us hostage every year during the silly season. But one bad year at Florida, and he's gone. And they're still going to end up going to a bowl game. But somebody down there has got to step up. And I'm sure Miami's thinking the same thing too. Hey, Florida State is down. Florida is down. What are we going to do? Do we need to make a move here? And with so many big jobs out there that are available, is there enough quality coaching candidates to fill these jobs without us making a reach? But Florida will be in a bowl game now. Where do they go? We'll see. We're going to look at some of that later in the week, kind of projecting some of the bowl stuff, because a lot has changed with LSU and Florida both winning, because now you've got 13 of 14 SEC teams bowl eligible. Not enough bowl spots with our regular tie-ins, but, and this which leads me to another comment I want to make here. So you guys may follow Brett McMurphy on Twitter. I do. I've followed him for years and years and years. I think he's one of the most important voices in college football. So Brett sends out a tweet that 83 of 82, I guess all 82 bowl spots are filled. There were 83 bowl eligible teams, and that somebody wasn't going to make a bowl game. And he says it's a bowl eligible G5 team. Well, of course, that's the right expectation. Within minutes of that tweet being sent, I have a couple people message me and say, Steve, do you think we're the ones that are going to be left out? Why? Why would we be left out? Number one, we're in the SEC. Number two, we're 7-5, and there are a ton of 6-6 teams. Why in the world would we be left out? And that's that element in the fan base that I really want us to breed out. There's just no need for that. What is the basis for this level of insecurity? Okay, so there's 83 teams that are bowl eligible, but for some reason we think we're going to be the ones that get. I know we're going to get shafted. We always do. No, we don't. We don't always get shafted. There's some things that don't go our way, absolutely. Absolutely. But to think that we would be left out of the bowl picture at 7-5, you're kidding yourself. We went at 5-7 one year because of the APR in 16. We're not getting left out. And again, I'm going to project some bowl stuff for you a little bit later in the show. But the reality of it is that segment of the fan base, that line of thinking has to leave. It absolutely has to leave. And it's so funny, too, that there are some people that have spent the entire year telling us that we weren't going to make a bowl game. Will Rogers is never going to be a quarterback. The air raid would never work. And you look at our schedule and say, you know what? Hey, we're 7-5. And they say, yeah, we could have been 5-7. We could have been 9-3. How about that? Could have been 10-2. We're not, but we could have been. That's how close it was. So it's like the same people that beat us up all year on social media saying we're not going to be this, we're not going to be that. Well, then when we've achieved those things, now all of a sudden the narrative has to change. But they're going to continue to be negative. And so I just encourage you, and I'm going to try to do a better job of like not responding to that sort of stuff, because all it does is give those people an audience. Sometimes I tell myself if those are the only voices speaking, then things aren't evenly situated. It's like if they're the only ones talking, then people assume that's correct. And so I try to get out there at times to kind of correct things, because most fans, like they read, oh my gosh, what have they heard? What do they know? What's happening? The sky's falling. It's not. You see what's happened on the field. You watch the games. You don't think this offense has improved? You don't think the air raid is taking flight? It is. We're 2 years into this thing. That's one of the things, too, I plan to talk about on Wednesday. Look at where Will Rogers sits right now. with just a mediocre bowl game, he is going to turn in the second most prolific passing season in SEC history. And so for those of you that are air raid deniers, it's a tough stretch. Those of you that are Will Rogers critics, it's a tough stretch. Those of you that said that Mike Leach couldn't win at Mississippi State, it's a tough stretch. And it's fixing to get a lot tougher. We're going to be a much better football team next year. You don't think we've improved from year one to year two? You kidding me? Now, we won't exponentially make that same jump next year. But, when I look at that schedule, some people say, well, Steve, it's a real daunting schedule. Yeah, it is, because we pick up Georgia. But I would say outside of Alabama and Georgia that at worst, every other game is a toss-up. At best, State will be favored. I think the schedule actually works out okay with the exception of those Alabama and Georgia games. Alabama and Georgia are going to win 10 games a year. Everybody else in the conference, it's a shakeup. You got to get to the end of a talent cycle. Look at what Ole Miss did this year. That veteran team with a veteran quarterback with a lot of potential. They win 10 games. And I've read all the angst and stuff about that. Guys, the bottom line is Ole Miss had a better year than us. Ole Miss had a better team than us. Could we have won the game? Absolutely. We didn't, though. And they won 10. And I tip my cap to them. I really do. And Lane Kiffin's probably been better than most people anticipated. But they've done a good job. They've had a great year. There's no denying that. There's no point, trying to poke holes in that. There were several games we looked at and thought they would lose. They won. So you just tip your cap and move on and say, you know what, hey, good luck next year. It's going to be a much different deal with a much younger team. Let's get back to our SEC recap. Alabama and Auburn. Listen, what a gift, man.
Hello, Discover here to explain our cash back match. Here's how it works. We give you cash back for using your Discover card on the things you were going to buy anyway. Then we match that cash back in your first year. And that's why we call it Cashback Match. Now to recap and say cashback one more time. We match all the cashback you've earned at the end of your first year automatically. Discover. Exceptionally common sense. Learn more at discover.com/match. Limitations apply.
More than 1 in 3 people will face cancer in their lifetime. Unfortunately, fear can stop you from getting your cancer screening, but it won't stop cancer. Early detection can save your life. Don't wait for symptoms to appear to act. Cancer screening is safe, effective, and accessible for everyone, including free or low-cost screening programs. Go to cancerscreeninfo.com right now for free screening resources and recommendations from the American Cancer Society. Don't wait. Early detection can save your life. Go to cancerscreeninfo.com today. Cancerscreeninfo.com.
What a gift for us to be able to watch this game. Of course, it goes 4 overtimes. I'm not a fan of the overtime rules. And once we get to third overtime, we got to go for 2. And I think it really helps teams like Alabama. And you'd say, well, if you're on the other end of this thing, you just got to make one play defensively, and then you score, and the game is over. And that's true. So it adds a lot of drama and anxiety. But, I don't know. Maybe let's start at the 10. Instead of the 25. Maybe let's move it to the 10 and give everybody 4 plays to score from there. I don't know. We'll see. But interesting. Auburn and Derek Mason did a great job. Of course, they had a little bit of a break, got their legs under them a little bit. Auburn should have won the football game. And I didn't give them much chance. I know I wasn't alone. Without Bo Nix, I just think TJ Finley and those guys could score. And they couldn't. But we get to the fourth quarter, and it's 10-0. And you remember Alabama lines up for a field goal, and they botch the snap and get nothing. And at that point, I'm thinking Alabama's in trouble. Alabama is in trouble because if they kick the field goal, they're within a play. Well, they blow it, give the ball back to Auburn, and I'm thinking, you know what, Auburn's just going to salt this thing away here. Even if they don't score, they can eat up enough of the clock to put you in a situation where it's like you can't score 10 points in just a couple minutes. And Alabama comes back and does it. And I'll tell you, one of the things that separates the Bryce Youngs and the Alabamas and Nick Sabans of the world from the rest of the league is that 3rd and 10 play. It's 3rd and 10, and his first 2 attempts on first down and second down were not great throws. Then on 3rd and 10, you take a shot and you throw it up, and what is it, your 4th or 5th best receiver goes up and makes an acrobatic catch. The ball is like on the inside part of his forearm. He pulls it to his body, goes down, it's a touchdown. Alabama plays to win, and then they expect to make those plays. There are a lot of times people play not to lose and just kind of hope somebody will make a mistake and you can take advantage. Not Alabama. We're going to go get you. And I'm sure everybody on that Alabama sideline, even when it was 10-0 in the fourth quarter, they thought, we're going to find a way to win this game. And in the back of Auburn's minds, they were probably thinking, we're going to find a way to lose this game. And they did. It's funny how life works sometimes. There are those that think they're going to make it and those that think they won't. The funny thing is they're both right. And I can't even begin to imagine the daily life of an Auburn football fan. You have played basically for the last decade or more in state against the greatest dynasty in college football history and the greatest coach to ever do it. And you got to find a way to go get up and get excited about playing every year and thinking you're going to catch them. And sometimes Auburn does. And this is a year when Auburn should have been able to be a little bit better. I mean, I know they have a brand new coach there, but if we mentioned on the show before, you get Georgia and Alabama at home, and it's tough to evaluate anybody based on how they play against Georgia and Alabama. But these are the years that Auburn usually makes some hay. And so next year the schedule flips, so Auburn has to travel to Alabama and Georgia. Let me go ahead and tell you now, I'm going to project those as losses. But Auburn 6-6 now. And what's interesting about Auburn too, this is a thing that I don't think people have fully appreciated. We talk about late season collapses. You remember when they beat Ole Miss? They were ranked 18th in the country. They jumped to 13 in the country, and everybody's thinking, well, hey, they may be in the mix here for a Sugar Bowl, perhaps a New Year's Six. Well, they end up losing the last three. Of course, they have the big loss to us, and, of course, South Carolina comes back, beats them in Columbia, and then they lose to Alabama. So you end the year on a 4-game losing streak. You had leads against A&M, Mississippi State, Alabama, I guess everybody, really. You had leads on everybody late, and then you couldn't finish, with the exception of the Auburn game. You didn't have a big lead against Alabama, or A&M, excuse me. I guess it was 3-3 at the break. But you end the year on a 4-game losing streak after rising to number 13 in the polls. And let me share this with you, too. That's coaching. That's coaching. You can say, well, they had the injury, and that's true. They had the injury against us. But let's be fair. As great as that comeback was, you got to find a way if you're Auburn. You got a 25-point lead, and you can't finish that. That's coaching. It is. We can talk about player execution. That's a part of it. But at the end of the day, when you've got that kind of lead and you lose the lead and the game, ultimately that boils down to coaching. So a 4-game losing streak for Auburn. They will be in the bowl picture, obviously, at 6-6. Talked to my good friend Jason Caldwell today. We're kind of figuring this thing out, man. Where's everybody going to be? It's going to be tough because there's a bunch of teams right there at 6-6, 7-5, and we'll get to that later in the show. Vanderbilt against Tennessee. This game, the score makes it look a little better than it was. Vanderbilt, of course, the lone team in the SEC, not to be bowl eligible, 2-10 and winless in the league. Pretty crazy to think about how this kind of shook out for them. Not that it was a big surprise. And the fact of the matter is they were kind of fortunate to win a game. They beat Colorado State, beat UConn. Those games were still barn burners. But this was a 24-7 ball game at the break. And then, of course, next thing you know, it's 31-13 heading to the fourth quarter. And, Vanderbilt scores late, goes for two to kind of make it look a little bit better. But it's a 45-21 game. And it just, it never, ever really felt like Vanderbilt was in the game. And nor should they have been. I mean, just the reality of it. So another great finish, Texas A&M at LSU. It's almost like a storybook ending, and I can't remember who called the game. It may have been Tom Hart. Can't remember. But I thought they did a great job calling the game, kind of setting it up, and it's like, hey, it's almost like a movie script. And that's exactly how it worked out. And I don't know, I picked A&M to win the game. But in hindsight, how do you pick against Death Valley Magic? A bowl trip is on the line, Ed Orgeron's final hurrah. You probably could make a movie about all this stuff with Ed. Probably rated R, but you could make a movie about all this with Ed. And they drive down there, and next thing you know, it's a touchdown. And Jeray Jenkins, a guy that Ed Orgeron really, really liked, and they really pushed him early in his career. They've been beaten up with injuries, and LSU's going to be in a bowl game. One could argue they probably could have gone in the tank with all things that were going on. But there's a lot of pride in that uniform, a lot of pride in that logo. There are a lot of people that love LSU. They have a rabid fan base. I wish we were more like them. And you can say, well, Steve, you're talking about our fans. And I'm being honest with our fans. I wish we were more like LSU. I really do. Now, they have a lot more fans and a much bigger geographical area to pull from in many respects. But they don't quit on their team. Now, they may get on social media and gripe, but they still come to the ball games. They do. And it was a pretty crazy event there at the end, watching that go down. And again, so what this A&M thing, I'm not saying anything that anybody else hadn't already said, but A&M was in a New Year's Six last year. They have a great defense this year, and they finish 5th in the SEC West. 5th. And you start looking through all this stuff, of course they lose the starting quarterback against Colorado. They find a way to win 10-7 on the road and in Boulder, and that's not a great Colorado team by any stretch of the imagination. Then they lose to Arkansas, lose to us. You think, okay, they're going in the tank. They find a way to beat Alabama, and that's really the outlier in this schedule. They had some real opportunities. They got hot after that, and I really thought they would have went out. And then they beat Ole Miss. I mean, that's the thing. You go back and look. They beat Alabama. They hammer Mizzou. They hammer South Carolina. They get Auburn 20-3. They lose to Ole Miss. That was the game. In many respects, I think they had to win to really have a legitimate chance at a New Year's Six. And that was really a matchup that didn't favor Ole Miss because of A&M's ability to run the football. But again, they find a way. And you got to give Ole Miss credit for winning that game. Then they blast Prairie View as they should and then lose to LSU. And so, you end the year losing 2 of the last 3 and you're 8-4. And I think the question kind of emerges, is A&M just an 8-4 team? Is that who they are in the SEC? I think that's probably a fair assessment at this point. And that's the thing, too, I think you look at and you ask yourself, when those guys joined the league, a lot of people just felt like, hey, these guys are going to make life a lot tougher on us. But, we have held our own and then some against them. They're really kind of on the level of State and Ole Miss rather than on the level of Alabama, as some people maybe expected. And with their budget and their commitment to football and their stadium, you look at it and say, okay, well, that makes a lot of sense that they'd be great. But let me run this down for you guys. I'm gonna go back to when they joined the league. They weren't great the last several years in the Big 12. In '98, they go 11-3 under R.C. Slocum. They don't have another double-digit win season until someone comes in 2012. Now, it kind of helps. You had a guy named Johnny Manziel, a generational quarterback that was a 3-star kid that a lot of people didn't even recruit. And so he wins the Heisman Trophy, becomes the first freshman to do it. They go 11-2 that year. They win the Cotton Bowl, finish 5th in the country. And everybody says, okay, we're rolling. Well, then it's 9-4. That's after an 8-4 regular season. Then it's a 7-5 regular season. They win the Liberty. So it's 9-4, 8-5, 8-5, 8-5, and that's back-to-back bowl losses. 7-6, they lose the Belk Bowl that year. Jimbo comes in. It's an 8-4 regular season. You win the bowl game. Then it's a 7-5 regular season. You win the bowl game. And then last year they go 9-1, and then win the Orange Bowl. Of course, Ole Miss canceled that game due to cowardice, but they have not been a great team in this league, and last year, arguably their best year, and then you're 8-4 this year. And so I think we've got a big enough sample size now. We kind of know A&M's place within this league. And it also is a testament to how difficult the SEC is. Very, very difficult to play in the SEC West, which kind of brings me to this, and I guess maybe we'll hold that thought for a second. Let's hold that thought for a second, finish our review here. South Carolina gets absolutely blistered by Clemson. You know that Clemson defense is legit, but thought South Carolina would make more of a game of it. They really didn't. It was really a difficult ball game, and Clemson, ranked obviously in the playoff poll now at our expense, and then we lose the ball game, so it doesn't matter either way. But they really, really bottled up South Carolina. South Carolina's leading rusher in the game, 22 yards. That's it, 22 yards. Second leading rusher, 13. Passing stats, pretty ridiculous. Nolan goes 11 for 22 for 96 yards. They bring in Brown. He goes 8 of 19 for 67 yards and 2 picks. Just absolutely dominant performance by the Clemson defense. And that's not in any way to take anything away from what South Carolina has accomplished this year. I don't think there's any question that Shane Beamer has quieted his critics. Of course, they're 6-6, and even I felt they'd probably end up 4-8. Began to really wonder, when they played, I guess it was Missouri, if they would win another game after that. And they have. And to give Shane Beamer a lot of credit, I mean, I've seen these post-game videos with him, and this is a guy that's fully engaged with his team, and it's clear he's got some good buy-in there with those guys. But, they lose to A&M. They beat Florida. They lose to Missouri, beat South Carolina, and lose to Clemson. So you needed to split the last 4? They do. They absolutely do. And who had Florida losing to South Carolina? Very, very few of us. Ends up being a difference in going to a bowl game and not. And, of course, they get Auburn, of course, with backup quarterback. And if you've noticed, too, there are a lot of teams after they play us are kind of beat up, missing some guys. Kentucky, 52-21 winners. I picked Louisville in this ball game foolishly. I guess I need to stop hating on Kentucky and stop loving Missouri so much. But Kentucky absolutely annihilates them, 6 rushing touchdowns. And Louisville was favored in the game, which that was clearly a rallying cry for the Kentucky team. If you saw the post-game video, they're talking about, who's the underdog? Who's the underdog? Guys, it was 24-7 at the break. And then Kentucky removes all doubt in the third quarter, puts up a couple touchdowns. It's 38-7. And then, it was just a matter of what the final score was going to be. So give those guys at Kentucky a lot of credit. Better than I expect them to be. And, Mark Stoops, and this will give us a good chance to transition. There was some discussion, too, about, is this the year that people make a run at Mark Stoops? I thought Florida might. I don't know if that's a big enough splash hire. And I don't know that they made a big splash hire with Billy Napier, even though I think he is very intriguing. Does LSU take a run at Stoops? Do they? We'll see. Looking at the standings now, and, we mentioned Mississippi State finishing 4th after being picked 7th. I think that's important considering all of the developments here. But, Georgia obviously headed to the playoff. Kentucky at 9-3. I think they end up in the citrus. They've been there recently, but I still think you take them because you're going to have 3 SEC teams in a New Year's 6 or the playoff. Georgia, Alabama, Ole Miss. And then there's Kentucky, the only 9-3 team in the league. So it makes sense for the citrus to take them, even though they've had them in recent years. And then after that, it's kind of a free-for-all. Who goes to the Outback? Well, you've got one 8-4 team. Does the Outback take Arkansas? Yeah, makes sense to me. Then there's the Gator Bowl. And so we'll get to some of this a little bit later. But when you look at the standings, and anybody can make a list, as you guys are well aware. And I remember reading some people, you trolls on Twitter are really good about saving screenshots. There were a lot of people that projected LSU to be much better this year. Don't know why. But I don't think anybody had them finishing last in the SEC West. And they did. Last in the West. And of course, Vanderbilt 0-8. Florida wins the East in 2020 and ends up 2-6 in the league and 6-6. Who knew Greg Knox would be their savior at the end of the year? It's a fun thing to look at. It really is. And how cool is it to have 13 of 14 SEC teams bowl eligible? That's something that we've never seen. So we'll have a lot of rooting interest. And some would say, well, Steve, what do you mean? Well, I root for everybody in the SEC in the bowl game except for Ole Miss because that's our direct competition. And, of course, we want to end our year on a high note. We don't want them to. They've won the egg for the second straight year. They're in a New Year's Six bowl, so there's no denying they've had a better year. But you'd like to be able to say, well, that's all over with. You'd love to say it, and you hope that it is. All right, today's Top 10 list brought to you by clothes@blair.com. Blair Chandler, a great friend of mine, a great friend of yours. You need a friend in the industry. It doesn't matter what you're getting involved in. It doesn't matter what's going on in life. But when you take on something that is kind of daunting, something kind of stressful, it's good to have a friend to kind of hold your hand through the process. And that's who Blair Chandler is. Blair also is a Bulldog. Likes to do business with Bulldogs. He won't turn away any business. But because you're a Bulldog, he's going to give you a little bit of a discount here. If you just mention to him that you heard this on the Boneyard, and I guess if you're an Ole Miss fan, you can do the same thing. You mention to Blair Chandler that you heard about him on the Boneyard. Whether you do it in text or by phone call or by email, he's going to pay for your appraisal. There are a lot of fees associated with refinancing a mortgage or getting a mortgage, doing a second mortgage. And so he's going to save you a little bit of that expense by paying for your appraisal. It's about a $500 value. Not a lot of people are willing to do that. Blair is. And some of you guys, too, have already taken advantage of your services, and I'm sure you're going to have some testimonials for me when it's all said and done. But Blair is a guy that's committed to Mississippi State, season ticket holder in multiple sports, has a place up here, known this guy a long time. He's a guy of integrity, 21 years in the mortgage industry, and a top 1% close ratio in the country. Works for Fairway Mortgage, not some fly-by-night, some prop lender. I'm going to give you his personal cell number. You're not going to call and let's leave a voicemail with a receptionist that gets left on a sticky note that ends up in the bottom of somebody's trash. You're going to get direct access to Blair because he values your business. That phone number is 601-500-2344. Again, 601-500-2344. All right, today's top 10 list. I was enjoying some Allison Chains earlier today. A lot of you guys will say, hey, Steve, have we done Allison Chains? We have. We're not going to revisit that, but there is an Allison Chain song on our list today. And so some of you young bucks have heard about this, but I lived through it. It wasn't like living through Woodstock or anything. I'm not that old. But when MTV played music, that used to be like in the 90s, MTV was the greatest. MTV was innovative. It's before they started doing all these shows. You know, before they did Teen Mom and Jersey Shore and all that stuff. Back when MTV, the M stood for music television, they did some incredible things with the Unplugged series. So today we're going to do the best of MTV Unplugged. Now, I'm going to go against some of our rules ordinarily for the top 10 list. There's some covers on here. There's a band that I don't really care for on here, but I can't deny that they did a great job, a rendition of a classic song. And a lot of people mistake it thinking it's one of their songs. It's not. But one of the cool things is that some of these MTV Unplugged albums are available on Spotify and Apple Music. And so you can go back and relive that. Now, there are a couple of them that are not. I couldn't find the Cranberries. And, Dolores O'Riordan died a couple years ago prior to recording her part on Zombie with Red Wolves. But their Unplugged sessions were incredible. And so if you can find that on YouTube, I encourage you to do so. Lauryn Hill, one of the best R&B singers of my generation, she also did a great job on Unplugged. Basically, played most of the hits from the miseducation of Lauryn Hill. Can't find that one, didn't find it on iTunes, or I would have included some of it. But one of the best songs of the Unplugged era, they did an MTV Unplugged rap edition. I think they called it MTV Unplugged Uptown. It had Tribe Called Quest on it, a few other people. LL Cool J did an incredible acoustic version of Mama Said Knock You Out. Now, it's available on YouTube. It's not available on Apple Music or Spotify that I found. But if you watch that video, there's some moments in life you watch things and you think, man, I would have loved to have been there. When I saw that, and even now when I watch it, I kind of get chills. There is so much energy in the room when they're playing Mama Said Knock You Out. And it is an acoustic version, and it is absolutely phenomenal. And then about halfway through the song, they kind of go into Hard to Handle. How cool is that? And then they come back out, and he's got a PSA about crack, about don't leave that crack alone. So if LL Cool J's Mama Said Knock You Out Unplugged version would have been available on Apple Music, it would have probably been in the top 3. But watch that video, you'll be amazed. And so if you know the song, if you know LL Cool J and you appreciate the Unplugged stuff, you need to check it out. It is absolutely phenomenal. I can't say it enough. All right, so top 10 list, top 10 best of MTV Plug that's available, that caveat. Number 10, I was not a huge fan of this band because it was more adult contemporary, and I was listening to a lot of house music and techno and heavy metal and industrial music at the time. But Natalie Merchant, the lead singer from 10,000 Maniacs, is phenomenal. To quote Ben Howland, she's phenomenal. And And so 10,000 Maniacs did an unplugged thing, and I really didn't dig them or that genre. But they did a great cover of Because the Night. That's a Patti Smith, Bruce Springsteen song. It is their version of it, their rendition of it is just spectacular. Probably my favorite 10,000 Maniacs song is Trouble Me. It's about, people just trying to get it all together, and it's like when you need somebody, trouble me, I'll take care of you. But Because the Night ended up being a huge hit. Like, it got released as a single, and it was on the radio everywhere. So it's 10,000 Maniacs, Natalie Merchant of the 10,000 Maniacs, Because the Night. Number 9, this is one of the later unplugged albums, and you can find this in its entirety on Apple Music. It's Bryan Adams, and people don't fully appreciate what a great vocalist Bryan Adams is. And he sang kind of the soundtrack of my youth, right? I mean, we couldn't get, Motley played on the radio very often. But, rock radio back in those days was like Toto and Foreigner. And Bryan Adams was a guy, too, that was an MTV hero. It seemed like everything he did was a hit. But his acoustic version of Summer of '69 on this Unplugged album is incredible. Number 8, one of my all-time favorite rock bands. Again, this was kind of a later Unplugged thing, kind of when it faded a little bit. But it's the Scorpions. We've done Scorpions Top 10 too. But the acoustic version of Still Loving You, and then the crowd sings along, which gives me chills. I absolutely love those moments in music when everybody in the room is engaged and kind of in the moment and not, recording everything with their iPad or whatever. But Still Loving You from the Scorps, and it is a beautiful version. Number 7, you guys know I'm not a Nirvana fan, but the Nirvana Unplugged album I know was a huge, huge hit. And probably the biggest single off that was a David Bowie cover, The Man Who Sold the World by Nirvana. And again, a lot of people mistakenly think that is a Nirvana song. It's not. They just did a really cool version of it. Not a Kurt Cobain fan in the least. You guys know that I think he's extremely overrated, but I thought he did a really good job on this song, and I can admit it. Number 6, Kiss reunited. I know they're still doing their farewell tour that's lasted 20 years, but they reunited with the original lineup and recorded the Psycho Circus album, and it seemed like Kiss was everywhere. Everybody was so excited that Ace Frehley, matter of fact, I wore my Ace Frehley shirt yesterday. Ace Frehley and Peter Criss were back with the band. They did some deeper tracks on their Kiss Unplugged album, which you can find online. But I like Beth. I did. I really liked their version of Beth. Peter Criss sang. He's a little bit raspy as a vocalist. Paul's the voice of Kiss, but I thought Peter did a great job on this. And ironically, Gene Simmons not a big fan of the song, but it's been arguably their biggest ballad in their catalog. So Beth by Kiss is your number 6 song. Number 5, one of my favorites. I don't know that we've done a top 10 of, maybe we have. I don't know. Maybe we'll get Roy to check. I'm sure he'll text me later and say, yeah, we've done them. But Queensryche, Jeff Tate, one of the best vocalists of my generation. I don't know that he gets enough appreciation because they're kind of a progressive concept album type band, and I think there are a lot of people that just never really got into Queensryche. But technically, like, you go back and listen to the guitar parts on Operation Mindcrime with Michael Wilton and Chris DeGarmo, it is better than just about anything else in the genre. And I had a discussion over the weekend, like, some people kind of mislabel some bands from the 80s. They say, oh, well, they're hair metal. Guys, bands like Tesla and Queensryche are not in that genre. And as much as I love all that West Hollywood sound, I do. I love it. I think it's amazing. Queensryche was out of Seattle. They were the originators of Seattle music. I guess them at heart. But my point being is that they were not hair metal. And so, to me, number one, the term is offensive. But the next part of that, too, is to lump bands like Tesla and Queensryche in with, Motley and Poison and all the Revlon rockers. It's just disrespectful. But Queensryche did a great Unplugged album. And Silent Lucidity is the one I went with here, which is one of the greatest songs, I would say, of that decade. It was a huge crossover hit. You could hear it on Top 40 radio. It was everywhere. It's probably their highest charting single of all time. And the song Silent Lucidity, and some people don't fully understand what this is about. I heard a Jeff Tate interview shortly after the Empire album came out, and it's about explaining dreams to a child. Like if a child wakes up from a nightmare, and then you have to explain to them what a dream is. It's like in your mind, you thought this was real, but it's not. You're safe here in your bed. And that's what the song is about, silent lucidity. And so it's not about, I'll be watching over you. It's not a relationship song. It's about a parent to a child explaining what dreams are. And that is an interesting concept, and the song is absolutely beautiful. Number 4, and I want to take a little time to talk about this, because this is what got me on the Unplugged kick today. I listened to the Allison Chain's Unplugged album. When Dirt came out, I thought it was one of the greatest albums ever produced. And I'll be honest with you, I struggle with people that call Allison Chain's grunge. I do. They're not. Allison Chain's was actually originally a glam band, and then when Lane retooled the band, he hired Jerry Cantrell, and they had a heavier edge. But you go back and listen, to Sap and Facelift, it's not grunge. It's rock and roll. It's alternative rock, but it's not what we came to know, with Soul Asylum and Pearl Jam, Mother Love Bone, Nirvana, in some respects, Soundgarden. But Allison Chain's, I think, kind of exceeds the label of grunge. I think it's almost disrespectful to kind of put them in that box. But their live album, the Unplugged album, was a pretty easy decision because Jar of Flies had been so successful. And I don't know if you know this, and if memory serves me correct, this is correct. Jar of Flies was the first EP to ever debut at number 1 of any artist, of any genre. And when I first heard Jar of Flies, I didn't like it. Because, what I like about Allison Chain's is the angsty, dirty, filthy truth. A lot of addiction type stuff in there, and so maybe that's why I gravitated to it. But they speak my language. And so I didn't like it because I thought they were kind of selling out, kind of going with the Unplugged theme. So they went with Jar of Flies. And so it made perfect sense for MTV to reach out to them. Now, the band had been on hiatus for about 2 years. And if you watch this online, and you can watch it in its entirety, Lane Staley is out of his mind high. But he produces a great performance. This proved to be one of his final performances of his lifetime. So this happened, I guess, in March of 96, I think it's right. And then the final performance they did is they were out with Kiss. Allison Chain was opening for Kiss, and July 3rd was the final live performance for Allison Chain's because Lane Staley was deep in the throes of addiction. And I had read something too. Let me see if I can find this for you too. Maybe I can find this for you quickly and share this with you. But there was a Rolling Stone interview shortly after the Unplugged performances, and Allison Chain's is getting ready to go on the road, and Allison Chain's didn't tour a whole lot. That's the thing too, because of all the issues with Lane. But a lot of people felt even then, even the recovery community, there were a lot of people that felt like that Allison Chain's, especially the Dirt album, really kind of glorified the use of drugs. And so Lane Staley was really tortured by that. And here he was just trying to share his pain with people. And it got misinterpreted. And so here's a quote directly from Lane Staley. I wrote about drugs, and I didn't think I was being unsafe or careless by writing about them. Here's how my thinking pattern went. When I tried drugs, they were great, and they worked for me for years, and now they're turning against me. And now I'm walking through hell, and this sucks. I didn't want my fans to think that heroin was cool. Then I've had fans come up to me and give me the thumbs up, telling me they're high. That's exactly what I didn't want to happen. And so he was a tortured soul and basically became very reclusive. And then his former fiancée, Demry, who he turned on to heroin, overdosed and died October 29th of 1996. And he never recovered. He just simply never recovered. And I believe they said his body was like 80 pounds when they found him, and he was missing teeth and had all kinds of problems. And it's really, really sad. And so when I listen to this stuff, this Unplugged album, I kind of understand the context of which it's being recorded, but I also understand what is to come. And I think the lesson learned from all of this is that, and this is one of the things they teach us in AA and NA, is it is a progressive illness. It is absolutely a progressive illness. Like Axl Rose even saying, I used to do a little, and then a little wouldn't do it, so the little got more and more. That's what happened with Lane Staley, and he got so incredibly depressed because of the death of his former fiancée that he just simply could not move on with life. He gave up on life and eventually died of an overdose, and it's very, very tragic. And so I always, when I listen to those songs, I always play the tape all the way through, and I know what happened to Lane Staley in the end, and it's very unfortunate. Matter of fact, I ordered a Lane Staley shirt today from the Lane Staley Foundation because I want a reminder, but also, too, I want some of that money to go towards helping heroin addicts that seek recovery. So if you're interested in doing that, you can Google that, the Lane Staley Foundation. His mom runs that foundation to try to help promote education for heroin abuse in the Pacific Northwest. Okay, on a lighter topic, before we all get down and depressed, Mariah Carey was phenomenal. And I feel like I've said that a million times during this segment of the show. But Mariah Carey, one of the best vocalists, regardless of gender or genre, of our lifetime. She is incredible. And she did an Unplugged album that on MTV, and I think it sold 10 million copies. It was ridiculous how much this album sold. She did a cover of the Jackson 5's I'll Be There, which made people want to go learn more about the Jackson 5. She kind of introduced them to a new generation. But she is an iconic singer, and I think her version of I'll Be There is chilling. I mean, it is absolutely perfect. Number 2, this is one of those albums, too, that it was a very important time in my life, I guess, in many respects, because, I was, working through some recovery stuff, but also, too, I was living life on life's terms. But I read a Rolling Stone interview with Eric Clapton after his young son, Connor, had passed away. And if you don't know the story, you can look it up. I won't go through all the gory details, but it was one of the most horrendous things that's ever happened. And Eric Clapton was one of the first people on the scenes. And, Eric was in AA and in recovery at the time. And he talked a lot about, when that happened. I began to think, this is the worst thing that's ever happened. How could somebody stay sober through all this? And he said, I called my sponsor, I leaned on my friends, I went to meetings, and I made it through. And I told myself then, if he can stay sober through that, then I never have an excuse. It was kind of one of those epiphanies, those spiritual awakening type moments where you're like, you know what? I can learn from this. This is a tragic event, but I can learn from this. And so Eric wrote a song that many of you have heard that he performed on the Unplugged album. And it's Tears in Heaven. And it's about his son. Would you know my name if I saw you in heaven? It's just absolutely a gut-wrenching song. I know a lot of people have played that at funerals and things like that. But it originally appeared on the Rush soundtrack, if you know that movie. That's a drug-related movie as well. But the Unplugged version is the one. That's the one that people look at. And he won Best Song of the Year, Best Male Vocalist, Record of the Year. It is just one of those things that I think it is a timeless song. And we know Eric Clapton from his great career as a rocker and a blues player. But this is the one for me. This is the one, when it all comes together and people really share their heart, this is the one. But number 1 for me, because I don't like to end on a ballad. I don't. I was a huge Pearl Jam fan at the time. I'm still a big Pearl Jam fan. I'm not going to go pay $500 to go watch a show. But I love Pearl Jam. I was one of the first people to put the wheel on that bandwagon in South Mississippi, thanks to the fine folks at Sound Shop at Cloverleaf Mall. I heard about Pearl Jam, had read about them, was somewhat familiar with Mother Love Bone, so I'd heard a little bit about them. And when Even Flow came out, it was kind of like, holy smokes, who are these guys? This is different. I'm not supposed to be listening to, to the 80s rock anymore. We had transition. And so Pearl Jam was kind of that band for me. And I guess it's one of the reasons I don't like Nirvana is because of the Pearl Jam-Nirvana feud. But I thought Pearl Jam's Unplugged show on MTV was, it was groundbreaking. I just thought it showed a more vulnerable side of Pearl Jam. It's like we'd seen the videos and that sort of stuff, but to see them be able to talk and interact with the crowd and stuff was just simply different. But the best song, I think, on that performance was Jeremy. Jeremy, and that is, that's a song too that I think a lot of people don't fully understand, the story behind it. And you can research that online, but that was right around, kind of forecasting some of these school shootings. There had been a school shooting. It was in the newspaper, and Eddie Vedder was so moved by the thought of some kid just being so hurt that he felt that was only his alternative, was to go to school and kill his classmates. And he spoke a lot about troubled youth after that, about how it's not always going to be this way. You're going to get through this, and you're going to get through life, and things are going to pick up for you. And he goes, man, I just wish I could take all those kids and just hug them up. And that's exactly how I feel sometimes too. But Jeremy, a phenomenal song. Lyrically, I think it is one of the most haunting songs, probably not just from that era, but of all time. I mean, just, like the talk about the parents and, the fact that mommy wouldn't wear, it's just, there's so many things in there. It makes you feel for so many kids out there that have a really desperate life. But that's your top 10 list today. MTV Unplugged. You never know what I'm going to come up with. Many of you were thinking, well, maybe he'll do Jethro Tull. No. It's the best of MTV Unplugged, and I know you guys love the 90s music, and so much of this is from the 90s, but a pretty good wide assortment here. But again, if you can find those performances on YouTube, and I think some of them are actually on Paramount TV now, where you can watch them. They've been kind of enhanced, and you can watch them on your TV. I think you'd enjoy that. But if you're a fan of music and you didn't know, all the kind of the storytellers, I used to love the show VH1 Storytellers too, where people told the stories behind the songs. I enjoy that. I do. I really enjoy knowing kind of what the inspiration is for some of my favorite songs. And when you watch these Unplugged things, you kind of get some of that. One thing, too, kind of an aside, too, from the Allison Chains Unplugged, is Metallica was in the crowd. And they had cut their hair, and they were doing all the, I guess it was when they were getting ready to do Load. And Jerry Cantrell wrote on his guitar, "Friends don't let friends get friends' haircuts." And it was kind of a friendly jab at their friends in Metallica. So, again, go check it out. If I was picking today, I would listen to Pearl Jam and Allison Chains, but I think you'll enjoy all of these. And enjoy the list, too. It could be a good ride home for you today. And thanks so much to Roy and Izzy for what they do to make these lists accessible to you guys. All right, next segment of the show brought to you by Campus Bookmart. You know those people well. Saw Stan the Man this weekend, spent some time with them on Saturday. It was a great time. It always is. Stan the Man's, here's the thing about Stan, and I don't know if you guys appreciate this. There are a lot of people that were like born to be singers, and there were other people that were like born to be, politicians or born to be lawyers. Stan was born to be in retail. Friendly guy, always got a smile on his face. You never see him get, elevated emotionally about things. Even like if something's not right, well, it's what we can do. He's just the perfect guy for customer service. Does a great job. Got a great crew there. I didn't get to see Susie this weekend, so my weekend was somewhat diminished. She is my friend. I love her and Kathy and the whole crew there. Cheyenne, everybody, Candy, everybody down there will treat you like family because in their mind you are family. So if you're looking to outfit your family in latest and Mississippi State merch, and you should be, go to campusbookmart.net. And by being a loyal Boneyard listener, we'll give you a phrase that pays. It's BSR. And that does stand for Beautiful Steve Robertson. That's right, BSR. That gets you free shipping on all orders over $50. Any order less than $50, absolutely incomplete. A lot of hoodies in there, too. That was one thing. I was there yesterday, and I was at Bookmart yesterday, and they're having to kind of swap back and forth because you guys are hitting up all these online orders, and so there's a lot of hoodies being sold. There's a lot of Mississippi State National Championship merchandise being sold, and I saw they had a sign-up yesterday, 40% off pirate merchandise. We had a bunch of pirate merch, when it all started. When we first hired Mike Leach, trends kind of come and go. So if you're interested in that, you can find the pirate merch at 40% off. And be sure to check that out today. Campus Bookmart, your friends. Again, promo code BSR. Okay, let's talk a little bit about bowls. I want to talk about us, okay? Later in the week, we can kind of project some other things. But I want to talk about what's going on with Mississippi State. So, unless Alabama upsets Georgia, Mississippi State is headed to either the Texas or the Liberty Bowl. Now, last week, most of the talk was Texas Bowl. Liberty Bowl has really kind of risen to the forefront. People say, oh, well, Steve, we've already been there. That's true. That is true. But it is a December 28th game compared to a January 4th game. And I think there are some people that feel that is more advantageous for us. I think we would go to that game. I don't know if we'd all go to Texas. Now, that's not to say that that wouldn't be a great experience. We've never been to the Texas Bowl, and I know they want us. I've been told they want us badly. But I don't think that is the odds-on favorite today. I think it probably is the Liberty Bowl. And someone would say, Steve, we just went to Memphis. We did. But I think it's one of those things, too, where are we most likely to sell tickets? Those are the things I think you look at. And you guys want to go to the game, right? I want to go to the game. I'm going to be there no matter where it is. But I know many of you want to be there. And, we hold the top 2 attendance records. I think 2007 is still the attendance record of all time. And we were so desperate to have something to feel good about, we bought every ticket that we could find. So we have not been to the Liberty Bowl since 2013, and that was the sophomore season of Dak Prescott. That was a year, you remember, we went 6-6. We had to beat Arkansas and Ole Miss to get bowl eligible, and then we absolutely destroyed Rice, who was the Conference USA champion, 44-7. That's the last year that the Conference USA champion appeared in Liberty Bowl. Probably smart for them. We have not been since then. So it would make some sense when you begin to think regionally and geographically that we go up there. In the time that we have gone, A&M has gone, Arkansas has gone, Georgia has gone, and then in 17 you didn't have an SEC team. Missouri went in 18, and then there has not been an SEC team since then. So I know that there are a lot of you that would rather go to Memphis than Houston because of the travel. Now, the flip side of it is going to Texas, it's an NFL stadium. It's indoors. Houston is a fun city, one of the best cities in the world. So there's plenty to do up there. And Memphis is a lot of fun too. And I know the area around the Liberty Bowl, not the best. I get it. But I think this is where this is trending. Could be Texas. I think it's probably Liberty today. Now, we won't know for sure until Saturday night after the end of the SEC championship game. So what happens if Alabama wins? Well, if Alabama wins, and I don't think they will, number one, I think Georgia is simply better than Alabama. But Alabama is incredibly beat up. Having to play a freshman running back, Brian Robinson was banged up again this past weekend. They'll score a little bit. I can't wait to watch the game. But let's just say Alabama wins, then I think everybody moves up a little bit, right? Because then you'd have 2 in the playoff. Ole Miss probably at that point in the sugar, right? And so then maybe we go to Nashville again. Maybe. But again, I don't think Alabama's going to win. If Alabama wins, I think it changes a lot of things because everybody moves up a spot. I think that's probably the best way to explain that. But the Texas Bowl and Liberty Bowl are on the same level. A lot of people are like, well, Steve, it's a better ball game. No, so here, let me explain how this thing works. So there are currently, 14 SEC teams? So all that money goes into a pot. And then we get a share of that. That's how that works. When you see that the payout is X number of dollars, we don't get all that money. It all goes into the SEC coffers, and then we get that big check at the end of the year. We all share. So whether you go to a bowl game or not, you get a share of the money. That's the beauty of being in a conference. So the more teams we have in the playoff, the more financially beneficial it is for Mississippi State. And many of you are thinking, I don't want Ole Miss to be in the Sugar Bowl. You know what? Hey, if they've earned it, they've earned it. And I don't know how you argue against it. Goodness, I guess Alabama could get blown out, and they could even drop beyond Ole Miss in the FBS rankings, and then you're certainly going to have Ole Miss in the Sugar Bowl. But I would say as it projects right now, it's probably Alabama in the Sugar and Ole Miss in the Peach, and I think that's what most people probably see. But the money itself is shared by all the member institutions in the SEC. See, Vanderbilt's going to get the same amount of money we're going to get in most instances. Now, we do get a bigger share of our bowl payout. We get an extra share because they help pay your expenses. But it's not a situation that you look at, this is a better bowl game. It's not better as far as prestige. A lot of people just, you consider Liberty, you say, well, that's always been one of the lower teams in the SEC. Well, we've got more lower bowls now, so it's kind of pushed up. It's in that group of 6 bowls, and so it's on the same level as a Texas Bowl. Simple as that. We add the Texas Bowl and we add the Belk Bowl because of geography. That way you can send kind of a middle-of-the-road SEC East team over there. You can send in that West team over there. So let's look at how this thing kind of lays out right now. Georgia in the playoff, and I do believe Kentucky is going to be in the citrus. If you had to ask me right now on Tennessee, what does Tennessee do? What does Tennessee do? And they're 7-5 just like us, but they're going to sell a ton of tickets too. And I think it's interesting. Tennessee and the Gator Bowl have not always had a long-standing relationship. It's been a long time, I guess, since those guys have been there. I guess that's not correct. I had a brain fart there. They were there just a couple years ago and played Indiana, I guess. Yeah, played Indiana. They beat Indiana and brought 61,000 people to the Gator Bowl. And that had been the first time, I guess, since 15 they had gone. And so, we'll see how things progress with them. But I think Tennessee, you could put Tennessee in Charlotte, they'd probably sell 50,000 tickets too. Last year, Tennessee was slotted to go to Liberty Bowl and then didn't make it. Because they said it was COVID-related, but I think we all probably believe that this was because of the Jeremy Pruitt and the NCAA scandal, which has remained really, really quiet. Nobody's really talked about that this football season, and I'm sure that's what the folks in Knoxville would prefer, is not to even talk about that stuff. But that is something that is going to happen sooner rather than later. But Josh Heupel has done a really good job there this year in year one. They're going to be okay. Tennessee will. And their fans are very excited about their future. They just want to get through this probation thing. But so I think Tennessee is kind of similarly situated with Mississippi State. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how this thing plays out. Missouri at 6-6, they're behind State. South Carolina 6-6 behind State. Florida 6-6 behind State. Then you get over to the West, and you know what Alabama is? Alabama is either a playoff team or New Year's Six. Ole Miss in a New Year's Six. You might as well get used to saying it. That's just how it is this year. And then Arkansas, Mississippi State, A&M, all right there together with a 4-4 conference record. The tiebreaker, of course, has Arkansas ahead of us. So do you put Arkansas in the Outback? Possibly. And we're going to project a lot of this a little bit later. But Auburn 6-6 and LSU 6-6. So you've got a glut of those 5, 6, and 6 teams. That's why it was so important for us to win that game against Auburn. Really puts us in a much better situation to kind of avoid being in the, kind of traveling somewhere maybe we're unfamiliar with. But somebody somewhere is going to get a non-traditional SEC bowl game. With 13 games, 13 teams, they got a spot somewhere. There's going to be an SEC team go somewhere that perhaps they may never have been before nor will ever be again, like we did. We went to St. Petersburg Bowl, and then next thing you know, they make that an SEC Bowl. Now it's the Gasparilla Bowl. Maybe do you put Florida down there? Do you put South Carolina down there? Somebody's got to go to the Birmingham Bowl. Is that Auburn? I think you could probably kind of shake all this thing out in a bag and just roll it out there and probably be happy with the matchups. But Mississippi State will be in that group of 6 of the SEC bowl games beneath the citrus. And if you guys had forgotten about that, let me give you that list of games. I won't try to do it from memory because I'm sure that I'll make a mistake, but I've got it right here on the phone. So the SEC affiliated bowl games, obviously, Citrus Bowl, and I think they probably take Kentucky. I think they do. I know they've been there recently, but I think they probably take them. And then there is the Music City Bowl, the Outback, the Gator Bowl, the Duke's Mayo Bowl, which is the Old Belk Bowl, Liberty, and Texas. That's the 6 right there, what they call the group of 6 SEC-affiliated bowls. We will be in one of those 6. We will be in one of those 6. Simple as that. And so you begin to think, okay, we got 3 in the New Year's 6. Then you've got the citrus, so that gives you 4. Then you've got us in that 6. That's 10. Well, you've still got 3 more teams to play. So, 2 of them are going to go to the Birmingham Bowl or the Gasparilla Bowl. And so then there's going to be 1 team out there that just is kind of filling up. Maybe it's the Vegas Bowl, who knows. But that's where we're going to be. So basically the way this thing is considered at this point, the group of 6, all right there together, we're safely in that group. So we're not going to fall down to Birmingham Bowl or to the Gasparilla. Most likely today, I would say, is Liberty. And again, I know there are personal preferences to either side of this thing. But I may feel differently on Wednesday. I may feel differently on Friday. And we'll all know for sure on Sunday. But I think it'll probably kind of start leaking out on Saturday. So they'll have meetings this week to kind of determine, okay, if Georgia wins, this is where you're going. If Alabama wins, this is where you're going. That'll all be determined. So everybody can begin to plan. The band can start like putting their stuff together. We can start asking about cowbells. So all that'll take place this week. And I, just real briefly, I want to share with you again the process, because there are so many people out there, no matter how many times that we post about it or talk about it or write about it, people don't seem to understand. The SEC sets the bowl destination for the league schools. Simple as that. Once you get through the playoff, the Citrus picks their participant. And they don't have to depend on FBS rankings. They can just pick who they want. And then that group of 6, the remaining 8 bowl games, the SEC sends them a team. So Mississippi State, let's say State fills out their preferences. Everybody turns in 3. The bowl games turn in, these are the 3 teams we would like to have. One of these 3 teams. And so Mississippi State would say, okay, we would prefer number 1, Liberty, number 2, Texas, number 3, Music City, or maybe any order you want. And so let's say if State and Liberty both pick each other, well, that's an easy decision for the league. You just give everybody what they want. We've had a situation, I guess Texas A&M went to the Belk Bowl a few years ago. They didn't want to go. They wanted a ball game. Obviously, they didn't want to go out there. They thought they'd been shafted, But sometimes that happens. You don't always get what you want. But as Mick Jagger taught us, sometimes you get what you need. But that's how that works. And so basically the league will take feedback from both sides, the teams and the bowls, and then kind of pair up based on that. And sometimes the league just has to make a decision and says, okay, when you signed this contract, you wanted an SEC team, here's your team. Now, South Carolina fans would probably love to go to Charlotte. Tennessee fans would probably love to go to Charlotte. But I think deep down, Tennessee wants to go to Florida, and somebody's got to be in those 3 Florida bowl games. Somebody's got to be in the Citrus and the Outback and the Gator. Then, of course, there's the Gasparilla Bowl down there, and so we don't want to go there. We've been there. And that's the bottom rung bowl. But the reality of it is that there's going to be, when you begin to kind of break this thing down, let's just go ahead and remove Georgia and Alabama and Ole Miss from the discussion here and look at what's available. Well, you got Kentucky, Tennessee, Mississippi State, Arkansas kind of right there together. A&M right there together. And so let's say you get Kentucky and the Citrus, and then you've got Arkansas and A&M. Let's say Arkansas goes to Outback and A&M to the Gator. Well, now you got your Florida Bowls filled up, so now you're thinking, okay, what's going to happen in Music City and Liberty and Texas Bowl and all that stuff? And so that's where we fall. That's where we are. Beneath the New Year's Six, beneath the Florida Bowls. And if you remember, beginning of the season, before you started getting all down in the mouth, we talked about this, that we were going to, the over and under was 7-5, and we'd probably end up in a Tennessee Bowl game. And we were all happy with that. Remember that? At the beginning of the year, you and I talked about it, and I said, this is what we're looking at. And we all agreed, you know what, that'd be a nice step in the right direction. I'd like to see some progress on offense. We've gotten that. We'd love to have the egg. That was one of our boxes we didn't get to check. But if we're 7-5 in a Tennessee Bowl game, then we're on track. We have met expectations. Now you look at each individual game and you can say, hey, we should have won this, should have won that. And, yeah, it's true. But when you look at the totality of the schedule and what our expectations were at the beginning of the year, this is about what we expected. And people would say that I'm a little more optimistic than most. Well, we're going to be 6-6 at best. Okay, cool. Well, some of the same people were telling you Leach is probably going to get fired this year. Remember that? People forget that. Early in the year, Leach is not going to make it. We're going to have to make a change this year. Well, then we go out and win some ball games, and everybody's like, well, hey, maybe this will work out. And that's really what we want everybody to be. We really want everybody to believe, you know what, you're getting some enjoyment out of Mississippi State football, and we have taken a step. We have taken a positive step forward. And so we're on schedule. And again, I think next year we're in contention for a Florida Bowl game, if not more. I mean, how many of us expected us to beat A&M and Auburn this year at their places? You know what? They're coming to us next year. And so we're going to begin to kind of preview that stuff a little bit later. We got plenty of time to talk about this before we start playing bowl games again. But, again, that's where we stand today. Let's thank our good friends at Portico. Brooks Bryan's a friend of mine. He's a friend of yours. I bring my friends together. That's what I do. I'm a conduit for friendship with the Boneyard. Brooks, part of a great group of folks that have brought a wonderful residential development to Starkville. Portico, very easy to get to, very easy to find. You turn off 82 on a 12. The very first right is Pat Station Road, and that'll take you to Portico. It's 1.1 miles from campus. It's on the quiet side of campus. It's where you'd want to live as an adult, where you'd want to live to raise a family. Maybe if you're in college, maybe you want to be on the other side of campus where it's a little more activity, a few more parties, that sort of stuff. You're on the best side of campus here, right there by that neighborhood market. It's so great. It's a wonderful time. You've got a lot going on there. And, you can get a 2-bedroom, 2-bath house, or you can go up to a 4-bedroom, 4-bath house. So, they've got pretty much any size home for your family, whether it be a weekend retreat, whether it be your primary residence, or maybe an investment property. They've got a lot for you. It's an exciting development. And I'll be honest with you, if I was moving to Starkville now, it's where I'd live. I live out in the sticks. I'd like to be a little bit closer. I really would. And I think you guys would too. You're going to have friends that are going to want to come stay with you too, because it's just so convenient. So give our friend Brooks a call. You'll be glad you did. He can give you all the information. You can find him on social media if you need to. But let me just give you his direct line. 601-416-8075. Again, that's 601-416-8075. And again, you can't move to Portico now because everything in Phase 1 has already been purchased. Phase 2, construction is getting underway there, but you can have some say picking out your lot, picking out your house plans, and know exactly what you're going to get. And so rather than having to kind of settle for, you don't have to do that. I mean, how many times have you bought a house and said, well, I like everything but this? Well, you won't have that this time. You have some say in the construction of your new home. Make Portico your next move. All right, before we get out of here, let's talk a little recruiting. It's the crazy time, right? So in-home visits or in-person visits began on Sunday. And I warned you guys, you're going to be seeing these pictures on social media. And there'll be coaches going by visiting with your favorite player, and you think, I didn't even realize they were even involved with them. This is part of the deal. There are a lot of people out there jockeying for position late because maybe they dropped a kid or a kid dropped them, and they've got to go out and find other options. Cam East, obviously, had an in-home visit with Lane Kiffin and the staff yesterday. And so that is really about trying to get in the game. Cam East, even though he took an official visit there, has not really been really warm and fuzzy about Ole Miss. He continues to say he plans to sign with Mississippi State. He has been planning to sign in February since the beginning of this process. And so there are some people that are reporting this, and people think it's a new development. Oh, my gosh, he's going to wait. We would love to get him signed in December. We would love to. And State's going to continue to push for that. But if that doesn't happen, it doesn't mean it's a change in the weather. But Mississippi State will be in there once a week for the next 3 weeks until the dead period begins. In the dead period, this is what I don't think people fully appreciate. This is why I think this December signing period is a little bit silly. The only good thing about it is if somebody pulls a signing they flip on it, you have a chance to recover and get another player in February. So in that respect, I'm kind of in favor of that. So coaches are going to be on the road for a little while, and then we're basically in what's called a contact period. So you get 6 in-person off-campus contacts per prospect during that time, and the head coach only gets 1. Well, December 12th is a quiet period. Now, what the quiet period means is you can't have off-campus recruiting activity. You finish up having your visitors, like your official visitors can stay, of course, through that day. And then it's a dead period from December 13th through January 13th. 30 days. So what's important about that is there is no in-face recruiting of any kind, unless it's on FaceTime. We can't visit them. They can't visit us. And as you guys know, there's some people in this state that thrive doing their best recruiting during the dead period. But the reality of it is, so we're going to be on the road, and then we're going to be off the road through the initial signing period in December, and then we'll get back on the road January 14th. And then be able to finish up and host some visitors those final couple weekends when we have the traditional signing day in February. So Cam East is a guy, obviously, that we want to keep. It was us in Arkansas for a long time, and then they had the offensive line coach from Arkansas, went to LSU. And so we'll watch, too, what happens with LSU when they hire somebody new. Do they come in? Do they get interested in him? Is that one of the reasons that he's waited to sign in February? Maybe is he waiting out LSU? We'll see. There's always some drama this time of year. But at this point, I don't think you're going to lose him to Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss, the fact that they brought Lane Kiffin down there is to try to jumpstart things a little bit. They've been in contact with him, but they really haven't been able to make a lot of headway. So we'll see how things progress there. Now, Jaheim Otis talked to multiple people over the weekend about him. He's scheduled to visit us this weekend after the state championship game. Plays Saturday morning, 11 a.m. in Hattiesburg, Columbia High School against Senatobia for the 4A state championship. And then after that, he's expected to come to Starkville and then stay through Monday morning. Ole Miss trying to get him in for a midweek visit. They're trying to get him to visit them this weekend instead of us. Now, that would be a major development. A lot of people said, Steve, are you worried about Ole Miss's positioning with Jaheim Otis? I have not been. And every time I talk to somebody back home that knows the kid well, I get kind of re-encouraged. Not that we're going to get him, but not that we're going to lose him to Ole Miss. If we lose him, I believe it's going to be to Alabama. Of course, he's been committed to Alabama for months. So that's not a big shock in that respect. Now, if he visits Ole Miss this weekend instead of us, that would be something to get really worried about. I don't foresee that happening. And I've been told that Ole Miss is trying to get him in for a midweek visit either this week. This after us. So he's supposed to visit us this weekend. Ole Miss trying to get him in next week before he goes to Tuscaloosa. Because after Tuscaloosa, it's time to sign. Because Jaheim Otis is a mid-year enrollee guy. So he's going to make his decision in December and then enroll at his new school in January. Now, one day I'll talk to a friend down there and I say, he really likes Alabama. Not to get lost in all this Egg Bowl banner. He committed to Alabama for a reason in the first place. And that's because of Nick Saban and the fact, this guy's done a great job. I mean, they're a national power. And then there's the talk, too, is, he understands if he goes there, he's going to have to sit for at least a year, maybe two. If he goes to Mississippi State or Ole Miss, he has a chance to play early. And so between the two, I've been told throughout the process is that he likes the fact that Mississippi State has put so many defensive linemen in the NFL. Now, Ole Miss folks would argue, but those coaches aren't there anymore. But it's the culture here. The better defensive line prospects in the state of Mississippi traditionally go to Mississippi State. And if you want a cautionary tale, look at Benito Jones. Benito Jones, 4-star guy, All-American high school guy to Wayne County, goes to Ole Miss. What's he doing now? And really, that's the biggest defensive line recruit that Ole Miss has had in recent years and didn't do anything with him. And then you look at the fact that we got a guy like Cameron Young who's already on some draft boards for next year. Jaden Crumberty is another guy that will probably be in the league. Montez Sweat, of course, is a first-rounder. Jeffrey Simmons was a first-rounder. And so you can run through all this stuff and you can feel pretty good about, our heritage in that respect, our legacy. So we'll see what happens. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I expect to get him. I will just tell you State is firmly in the mix. That's not a new development. He likes it here. He does have some friends here, and he knows that he'll play here. So we'll just continue to keep working and see what happens. But the reality of it is we're chasing Alabama. Ole Miss is chasing us. We're chasing Alabama. So they're going to have to go from third to first. We'll see how things go. Trevian Williams, people have almost forgotten about him. People have almost taken that for granted. Do expect to get him. I think that's simply a matter of time. He and his family very close with Trent Singleton, of course. It's a solid commitment to Mississippi State. That helps. But nobody makes a decision solely based on that. It just kind of helps the fact that, number one, again, Mississippi State has produced a lot of quality defensive linemen. He has a chance to come in here and play early, and I think be a real difference maker for us. I think he is one of the better players in the class. And it's almost like our fans, ever since we felt like he was leaning to us, have just kind of forgotten about him. He's not even committed to us yet. I expect that to happen. Could happen as early as this weekend. We'll see how things go. Could be a national signing day decision. But let me prepare you for this too. And I'll write about this later in the week over on genespage.com. We're not going to get everybody we want. We're not. I do expect to get him. But let's say we get in a situation where we get Trevian. Let's say we get Kamari Rogers. We don't get Otis. He sticks at Alabama, and say Stone Blanton goes to Ole Miss. And that's a possibility too. That's a lot closer, I think, than it was. And now he's going to make a signing day decision. So we'll see how things go. But, we're not going to sweep. No matter what you want, no matter what you think, we're not going to sweep. But we are going to put together our top 25 class. We're top 25 now, I guess number 23. Got a chance to move into the top 20, which is rarefied air for Mississippi State. But we're not going to get everybody. If we got everybody, it probably would be as good as that 15 class. The 15 class had really good run here at Mississippi State. So we'll see how things progress. We're going to update recruiting a lot more here in the next couple of weeks, be a big part of the show as we move forward because there's not games to talk about. We'll get back on Wednesday. We'll talk more about some men's and women's basketball. And again, really, really proud of the volleyball dogs, as we all should be, as we're seeing something we've never seen before in Mississippi State history. And again, I go back to the hiring of Julie Darty Dennis. There were a lot of people that were like, okay, it's volleyball. We don't really care. And now all of a sudden we get excited. We get excited thinking about, what, this is something else we can root for. So excited to see what is to come for them. Best of luck to them on Friday. I am not a volleyball person. I'm a pretty decent volleyball player back in the day, but I can't sit here and tell you about matchups and things like that because I don't know. I'm not going to pretend to know. I'm not going to be that guy that sits here and says, oh, yeah, they're great, and this Hawaii's this and Hawaii's that. I don't know. I just know that our ladies have played outstanding volleyball this year, and I think they got a chance to compete with anybody. Belief is a powerful thing. When you expect to win, we go back to the whole Alabama thing. When you expect to win, you generally do. When you have doubts, you generally don't. And I think this is a team playing with a lot of confidence, so we wish them the best. And excited, again, to have something else to cheer for. And looking forward, obviously, to the men's and women's basketball teams getting through non-conference play. Of course, they both suffered their first losses over the weekend. But we will look ahead at the week there is to come on the basketball side of things on Wednesday. That's going to do it for today. If you hadn't done so, go to Dogpile the book, and you can pre-order Dogpile. It will be here at some point. It's done. I know it's officially been written now for 3 months. It's very frustrating for me, but you can get copies of Alpha Dogs, Alpha Dogs, Stark Villains, and Flim Flam right now, and Blooms of Oleander. You can get those. But go to Stark Villains the book or Dogpile the book. It all goes to the same place, and you can get signed copies. Sold a bunch of Stark Villains and Alpha Dogs over the weekend. I want to thank you guys for coming out and supporting me at those book signings. I'll keep you apprised of the latest developments if you're looking for Stark Villains gear. And I had a lot of people that came in and bought Stark Villains who were unaware that you could get a Stark Villains t-shirt or hoodie. You can go to starkvillains.com and you can order those, and they'll get those out to you in plenty of time for Christmas. Well, that's going to do it for today. Until next time, let's all live our lives in a way we make more friends than enemies, and people can see a difference in the way we live.
Shop Macy's Cyber Monday specials now while supplies last for big savings on great holiday gift ideas, like up to 65% off coats and sweaters for everyone on your list, and up to 60% off handbags they'll love. Find festive blankets and throws to warm up your space, now 70% off. Plus, shop daily flash deals all week long and get it faster when you pick up curbside or in store, or try same-day delivery powered by DoorDash at Macy's. Savings off sale and clearance prices, exclusions apply.
More than 1 in 3 people will face cancer in their lifetime. Unfortunately, fear can stop you from getting your cancer screening, but it won't stop cancer. Early detection can save your life. Don't wait for symptoms to appear to act. Cancer screening is safe, effective, and accessible for everyone, including free or low-cost screening programs. Go to cancerscreeninfo.com right now for free screening resources and recommendations from the American Cancer Society. Don't wait. Early detection can save your life. Go to cancerscreeninfo.com today. cancerscreeninfo.com.